Hello, Sestras. Welcome to Sestranow's Workshop Wednesday. I am wearing green because we're talking women and money tonight. We talking money, honey. Okay, so let me introduce. Put my glasses on. Let me introduce our host tonight, our Sestra Carmen Bernard. She's a wealth strategist, financial literacy educator, independent insurance broker. She's the president and CEO of Big Facts, which stands for Bernard Insurance Group's financial and consulting services. And she works tirelessly to narrow the wealth gap in her community. Carmen is also the deputy COO of merchandising and financial advisor for Sestranow. Carmen believes a solid foundation in the education of how money works is the key to decreasing the wealth gap. She holds financial seminars for organizations, churches, schools, workplaces, and individual families. We're so happy to have her present tonight on this topic of women and money. All right, Carmen, without further ado.
Thank you so much for introducing me to all of the other sestras. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to help to serve my community and to reach others. We're talking about women and money this month. Actually, we were supposed to do this last month during Financial Literacy Month, and right following the Women Heritage History Month. However, I got sick and just could not present. So I thank you so much for rescheduling me so that I'm able to do this today. Now, today's Wednesday workshop is not going to be a long one, and it's not going to go really, really deep. In order for us to do this, we need at least 2 hours to really delve into this. But I'm going to touch on some highlights about women and money because it's absolutely important that women understand how money works and understand the differences and how they affect us in the workplace. How can we take control of our money or lose it? You know, most of us learned about money from who raised us, right? We heard about things like money doesn't go on trees, or you must pinch your pennies, you have to save for a rainy day, or the dreaded, we can't afford it. This is how we were raised, right? Depending on who raised us. But here's an interesting statistic. By the year 2030, women are expected to control $30 trillion of the financial assets in the US. And that's about 2/3 of the entire wealth of the nation. Y'all, we are boss women, we are bossing up. And if that's the case, we need to understand how to control our money or lose it, right? So here's the thing. We are earning more and more degrees. We make up nearly half of the workforce. We hold more than half of the management careers. So it's absolutely important that we understand how money works. And here's the first thing that I want you to remember is that women, for all the things we are doing, we earn 82 cents for every dollar that's earned by a man, right? And why? Of course, there's inequities, and they've been trying to make it a lot more equitable. However, part of the reason for us being so far behind is because we're the caregivers, we're the lovers, we're the sestras. We take time away to care from work to care for our children. We take time away to care for, that means we're not earning as much money. We're not in the workplace long enough. We take time away to care for our aging parents, and even for our partners. It is more often that responsibility falls on us, the caregiving responsibilities. And because of that, because we're out of the workplace for a long time, when we go back to the workplace, when the children are grown and we go back to the workplace, We tend to have the more lower paying jobs, and we tend to be in industries that are male dominated, or we're making less money. And all of that, all of these factors affect us and money, right? Additionally, or let me go back for a second. The median annual earnings for men is $61,180. And for women, it's $51,226. So that's like $10,000 a year less. And imagine what we can do with $10,000 more a year. Imagine what a single person can do with $10,000 more per year. But what I also want you to understand is losing that $10,000 per year means losing $400,000 over a career, a 40-year career, right? So it's absolutely important that we understand that these are factors that affect us, that has nothing to do with our individualism or anything like that. This just happens. We lose $400,000 over a 40-year career. That's almost $500,000. What could we do with that $500,000, right? Can we be saving more? Can we be investing more? Can we prepare for the next generation? What can we do, right? Here's the other thing. Because we spend less time in the workplace, 80% of us, we receive 80% less Social Security benefits than men, because we're not working as much. So again, they're making more money than us. And then when it's time, they're making more money than us, we are out of the workplace more because we are the caregivers. And then when it's time to be retired, we get even less money in retirement, right? So I'm going to give you about 6 or 7 points that I want us to remember today. And I'm just glossing over them. For us to go deeper into this, we need maybe a 2-hour seminar or so. But the first thing to do is to talk about money. We got to think about what keeps us up at night, right? Do we feel like we're not going to get ahead? Are we worried about outliving our money? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, right? And then do we worry about who will take care of us if we get sick? Because I'm going to talk about that as well, where we outlive our men. And so who's going to be there to take care of us after we've taken care of everyone, whether it was the children, whether it was the parent, whether it was the partner? Now, who's going to take care of us? And how can we create generational wealth? These are conversations that we need to really look at or get into, right? We need to understand. So number one is to talk about money. Get that conversation going. As they say, it's a conversation that needs to be had, right? We got to know our financial situation. We have to know where we are in order to figure out where we're going, right? We got to look at our pay stubs, our bank statements. We need to know what money is coming in, what is going out, what we're spending money on. People don't like to talk about budgets, but maybe you call it a spending plan or something like that. But we need to look at that. We need to know what kind of insurance coverage we have. Is it enough? Is it adequate? We need to look at our retirement and investment account statements. The things that we do now are going to affect who we are in the future, or how we live in the future. So we can't wait until we get there to do these things. We have to look at it now. We need to look at our loans and credit card statements to see what we have in debt and things like that, and make a plan. Once we do that, number 3, we need to eliminate the unnecessary, right? Streaming services, some of us have 2 and 3 of them. Why? Make sure that we are not paying any of our bills late fees, overdraft charges. Make those phone calls and see what can we do if we tend to run late? Can we readjust certain things? And definitely the budgeting is really important. We need to budget. And when I say budget, I'm not saying at the end of the month, we look and see how much money we brought in, what we spent, and then are we now looking to find out where did our money go? When I say budget, I mean plan. We plan for our money. We tell our dollars what to do, not the other way around. Money is a slave to us, not us being a slave to money. So we have to know where those dollars are going to go before. If not, they will find some place to go. We need to look at our credit card debt. We need to pull our credit report and look for errors on those credit reports. And we need to eliminate bad financial habits. So those are some things that we can do. The fourth thing that number four, we need to set our financial goals, right? And when we're talking about setting financial goals, we're talking about short-term goals within the next 0 now to 5 years. Those are our short-term goals. It might be a short-term goal for one person might be different than a short-term goal for the next person, because maybe for someone, a short-term goal within the next 5 years, they want to buy a home, right? And then there's a medium-term goal. It's the next 5 to 15 years. We have to plan now. You have to sit down and actually put that down, write that plan, make it clear, and then make that your North Star of how you are going to work to get there. And then long-term goals, 15 years or more, we're talking about retirement and beyond. Too many of us are just working and dealing with the now and the today, but what about our future? What is going to happen? Who is going to take care of us in retirement? Will we have enough? Most of us, when we get to retirement, we're going to be making 60% or so of our salary if we're lucky. And that is definitely not from Social Security, because that's pitiful if it's still there. It should be there, but it's probably everybody getting less so that it can go further. But if you have a problem right now living on 100% on your salary, how will you live on 60% of your salary? And many of us are taking things like our things like our mortgages. I apologize if you hear a noise that somebody coming into my garage. We're taking our mortgages into retirement because we refinance them over and over again. We're taking student loans into retirement. And so these are things that we have to look at. So plan, that's the next thing. Short-term goals, plan your medium-term goals, and long-term goals, and the things that we need to do. Once we've done that, we need to make a plan, right? 75% of people, once we have our goals, then we need to make that plan. 75% of women do not have a plan to reach their financial goals, including retirement. Some of us do not even know where we're going to have the shortfall. But that having this conversation now, writing down our goals and making a plan will help us. The thing is, 80% of women die single. 80% of women die single because we outlive our men. 80% of men die married. 80% of women die single, 80% of men die married, right? And more than 70% of women, more than 70% of nursing home residents, almost 2/3 of them are women. They're Alzheimer's patients. Are we planning for that? Is something we need to look at, right? The number 6, we need to save and invest more money, right? Women's number one financial regret is not investing more money. So we have to save and invest more money, right? Some people will say, well, I can't afford to save right now. I can't save. But listen, if you save $1 a day, $1 a day, that's $30 in a month, right? A lot of us could save $1 a day if we cut out something. That's $30 in a month. That's $365 in a year. If we save $5 a day, that's $150 in a month and $1,825 in a year. All right. And if we save $10 a day, that's $300 in the month and $3,650 in a year. So we have to get rid of the negative attitudes and mindsets when it comes about to saving money, right? And we have to understand how money works, right? Financial literacy is the #1 epidemic right now. So we have to understand how much does your financial illiteracy cost you and your family? I'm going to tell you this right now, that financial illiteracy cause you to pay higher premiums for your insurance, right? Many of us take the lowest deductible that we can on our insurance. Why? Are you planning to get in an accident, right? So, and if you take a higher deductible, I said deduction, higher deductible, then you're able to save on premiums. Okay, so you're taking a lower deductible, and then you don't get in an accident, and you're paying more premiums to that. Financial illiteracy, right? Do you use a credit card to pay for emergency expense, right? Financial illiteracy. Are you paying more in interest on your debts than the next person? Financial illiteracy. Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Are you waiting to set aside money for retirement and long-term care? I'm going to do that after I have paid off these debts, right? Financial illiteracy is causing us lots and lots of money and eating away at what could be going toward building our wealth. All right. So basically, there's 7 things that we have to do, right? #1 is getting a financial education, right? Understanding how money works. And I have, and I can do it just for our sestras, a seminar where we go deep into understanding how money works, understanding those basic financial concepts that will help us to make better decisions when it comes to our money. The second thing is to have proper protection, right? Proper protection means if something happens to you, the caregiver, your husband, the person who's bringing in the money, something happens to them, then what happens to the family? Does the family just fall apart? Do they now have to give up the only home that they've known? The kids have to give up, move from the schools that they've lived in because you now have to go move in with someone else or someplace else. So having proper protection is absolutely important. I've said this before, if you had a money machine in your basement, you would protect that money machine. You would make sure that you oiled it up, you did it well, took care of it, and all of these things. And you are that money machine. And that's why you need to have proper protection, such that if something happens to it, then that what you have in place can stand in place of it, right? Whether you're ill or whether you pass away unexpectedly. Having an emergency fund is separate from savings, they're separate from retirement. Having an emergency fund for true emergencies and using it only for true emergencies. There are 2 rules when it comes to emergency funds, and that is 1, once you have it set up and you take money out of it for an emergency, you pay it back. An emergency fund is not because you need a mental health day or a social shopping day or whatever. That's not what an emergency fund is for. So far I talked about having a proper financial education, having proper protection, and 3, having an emergency fund. See, I didn't say anything about paying off your debts first before you do any of those things. And financial illiteracy is what causes us to do those things in the wrong order. Now I'm going to talk about debt management, understanding how much you owe, what you owe, and how can you get rid of that, right? For some of us, people will say, I am unable to do anything else because this is where I am. This is all I get. I'm spending all of the money that is coming in. Well, guess what? You're going to have to create some cash flow. You may need to get another job. You may need to get a side gig. There's something else that you're going to have to do. And even when we're talking about getting another job, you got to understand that time is limited, okay? Because you still have to sleep if you're going to be able to go to, so you can't get 3 and 4 jobs. So you have to find a different way for bringing in that money and creating that cash flow. And that can be, in these days, people are finding, so many ways of making money, whether it's online, whether it's some kind of passive income, but there's so many creative ways to be able to make money outside of adding another actual job that you have to be there, right? But bringing in that cash flow. And then number 6 is building wealth. And between this number 6 is building wealth. Now we're making sure that we're invested and we're making plans for our next generation. That's something that we typically do not do. We live for the here and now. Meanwhile, many other communities, many other people are planning for the next 3 generations. We're planning for next Saturday night, or we're planning for our next birthday, which, by the way, my birthday is next week, or week after, but and then, of course, once we're doing all of these things, we have to protect that wealth. This is a part that we always leave out, where we've worked hard for it, but we don't take the steps to protect our wealth. And many of us, our wealth goes either to the government or to someone else other than whom we want it to go to by protecting our wealth. So, like I said, and I hope I didn't go too fast, but I said this is just an overview on reasons why we as women have to look at finance and money differently, right? But like I said, talk about money with your family and friends. Know your financial situation by taking inventory of your cash flow, of your assets, of your insurance, of your debts. Let's stop living anywhere the wind blows. Let's take some consistent and some, dare I say, extraordinary steps to be able to understand where we are, right? So know our financial situation. Eliminate any unnecessary fees, late fees and charges. Eliminate any of those things, late charges, credit card debts, and get rid of those bad financial habits. And now I'm not telling you that you can't have your Starbucks every once in a while, or a night out with your girls or whomever every once in a while, but understand that the decisions you make today or your future person is waiting and dependent on the decisions that you make today, right? Set your financial goals, short-term goals, medium-term goals, your long-term goals, and then make sure that you plan to accomplish your financial goals by sticking to your savings, your spending plan, your budget, if you don't like budget, spending plan, by saving and investing more money, even if it's just a little bit every day, even if it's just $1 a day right now to start, because it adds up over time. And then continue to learn about how money works. Partner with a financial professional. I am here as a financial professional to guide you. It's something that I love to do. It's my passion. And then listen, once you learn, share the knowledge, because we want to be able to get other people to know about this. So share it, talk about it, you
All right,
know?
Carmen, we're gonna we have some questions in the chat, so I'm gonna interrupt you.
Well, that's good. No,
Thank
you're
you
not
for the
interrupting
present.
me. You're not
Thank you for
interrupting me.
that.
We are right at the point where I'm going to entertain questions.
All right.
It's all about what lifestyle that you want and what you want to create for yourself. So let's go.
All right. So Carmen, I just want to thank you for all of that. And I mean, I guess I'll save my questions for the actual seminar, because I'm sure there are women that would say, yeah, that's all you said is easier said than done. But let's start with my question from early on. You said that you were talking about how our men out die before we die. We outlive them.
Oh, we
So
outlive
my
them.
question was, is this only for Black men, or is this the same for, Caucasian men? Does it matter?
No, so this is men overall. When I stated that, and then typically, if you whittle down the statistics, it's going to be worse for black and brown people. But this one, when I stated that 80% of men die married, and 80% of women die single. That's overall.
We have one question in here from Ms. Jones. Do you happen to know how high yielding business accounts checking? Do you happen to know how high yielding business accounts checking? Ms. Jones, go ahead.
Do you happen to know any high yielding business accounts?
That's a great question. So, high yield depend on who's offering it, right? Because high yield business accounts used to be not more than, or a year ago, used to be 0.05%, right? Half that was high yielding. And so you got to do your research basically and see who is offering what. As interest rates are up now, we're getting a lot more return for our money in banks. And if you guys have heard me spoke before, I'm not anti-bank, but banks do not give us good return for our money. They pay us in regular savings account less than half a percent. But right now, if you look, you can find some banks that are giving 4%, 5%, 5.2%. Some of those may come with strings attached, such as, oh, you have to have $50,000 in there, or you can't touch it for a certain amount of time, and some may not. So you just have to look at the different banks and see what they're offering. And when I talked about understanding some basic concepts of money, one of them was something like understanding the rule of 72. Because if you understand the rule of 72, which is what percentage interest do you have to get in order to double your money, then you can start making some real good decisions. So if you are getting 1% interest rate, it'll take you 72 years to double your money, right? Now, banks will take your money, give you less than 0.5%, and it'll take you hundreds of years to double your money, while they take that same money that you've placed in their bank and they'll lend it out at 12% and 18% and 30%, which means it's taking them 2 and 3 years, to double their money.
So what should we do? Put it under the mattress?
Absolutely not. You should schedule an appointment with me and we can look at your money and see if you're using your money effectively, because there's many other vehicles that you can use to grow your money. For example, there's cash value life insurance, which many people don't understand. That's what the wealthy people use to grow wealth, right? Not just, yes, they use life insurance to grow wealth, to pass on wealth to the next generation, because all of us are going to die. And us as Black and brown people, we typically do not have wealth to pass on. If we have some kind of insurance, it's typically enough to bury the person and maybe pay a few bills. It's final expense policies, but they use a life insurance to pass on real wealth. And that's something that's available to us and we can do it. But there's also ways to use, instead of putting you know, 10 and 20 and 30 and this and $50,000 in a regular savings account and getting 0.5%. You can now put that in a cash value life insurance policy and now get 4 or 5% compounded, and then also be able, while it keeps growing, be able to use it to buy other cash flowing assets without removing it from compounding. If you had it in your bank and you took it out, you will lose that compounding effect.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? I have a question about or a statement like about life insurance and African American families, but I don't want to take it over the discussion. If anyone else has any questions before I ask, go ahead, Thelma. You're muted. Unmute. Okay, let me just see. We can't hear you.
The button. Okay, there we go. I keep pushing the button. Okay, so just like you said, with the life insurance, that's one of the things that I really want to talk about too. Maybe like we have to do another seminar. But when should young people get that policy, even as a single young person? And then if they decide to have children, then they add their children on. But shouldn't a single young person, male or female, get them a whole life policy?
Good, very good question. Yes, they should. And when, first of all, it should have been in place when they were 2 weeks old. And then
yeah. And people don't do that.
Add into it later on and stuff like that. Because we don't know whatever happens, but having life insurance earlier protects your insurability. And so yes, they should get it. And it's not just any whole life policy, because a final expense policy is also a whole life policy. So you do need to speak with someone that's fairly knowledgeable about what it is and how it works, and to be able to do that. But yes, young people definitely should get it. And I really believe that parents, we should get it when they are babies, pass that on to them. And then they are now taking care of the next generation, their children and such, so that we can really make this a thing in our community.
Yeah, because GoFundMe is not insurance policy.
No, we're talking about go fund yourself. And so, matter of fact, the next seminar I do, I'm going to wear my shirt that says "Go fund yourself."
Right. Yeah.
But nobody has to wait until the next seminar to ask me a question. You can always schedule a free consultation with me to talk about it, whether it's about how do you do it, how does a child of yours do it, or a grandchild, or how do you help them do it, or what is, how do you do what I do to help our community as well?
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Thelma. So I want to piggyback off of what you said. First thing, for those viewers, because most likely on the replay, there'll be people, you know, looking at this, because you can find this on our YouTube. You said a word, which I understand it, and everyone may not understand it. You said they need to get that policy from 2 weeks old to protect their insurability. So can you explain what that is for our viewers that may not know what that means, and why that's a good reason they should do this at 2K? Because it's kind of like, to me, giving back, this giving their child something, right? That they will always have. So go ahead, if you don't mind explaining insurability.
So that's, thank you so much for asking that question. And it's really important that people understand it. And I'm going to say it like this with a story. I went into a home where the mom and dad had gotten a policy, and they had children. And I asked about the children being insured, if they were already insured. And the 12-year-old, she said they was just told that he could not get insurance because he had just developed diabetes. So, so had he been insured, like had I walked into that house a couple of years before, or a year before, that child could now be insured. And we can insure our children for, if we can afford it, $100,000, $1 million. We can insure our children as long as we have just the same or more insurance than them, right? Because they don't want you taking out your kid now. But we can insure our kids for whatever amount. And then even if something happened to them where they become uninsurable, they now are able to still either double, triple, sometimes 5 to 6 times the original amount of insurance without providing any evidence of insurability. So they don't care if they now have an incurable disease or whatever, they'll still be protected. And that's what protecting your insurability actually means.
Excellent.
And this is real, right, Thelma? Like, these are real situations. I personally was impacted by that when you, let's say you look to marry, right? And that's what happened, where I'm married and my husband, if they don't get insurance through work, if they, I don't want to get into that. Hopefully they work, right? But hopefully they do work. But if they don't get the insurance through work, you can't even get them insurance through your job, like insurance that's really going to help you, because if they have some type of disease, you know what I mean? Something that makes them insurable. Like you said, that's the good way to protect your children. So no matter what, they have that protection. So what I want to do is, we need to have a whole seminar on that. And when we launch our mentorship program, one thing we're going to do is, when we have our 25 young ladies on there, for those of you who don't know, Sestranow will be announcing his mentorship program. But at least those 25 women, we're going to have a workshop Wednesday that are going to teach them these points on finances that I didn't know. Many of us didn't know. Now you know. You can't say, now that you know better, you do better. So our sestras, our young sestras, these are the kind of things we're going to teach them, even if their parents don't know. So also to piggyback off of what you said, as far as, yes, Sestranow is multicultural, but as an African-American woman, what I've learned is that generation of my parents and those before, they don't understand this about insurance. They look at insurance. I mean, I'm from the South, right? So the way they look at insurance, the purpose of it is for, you don't have to worry about burying me. Right? That is so annoying. You know what it is to try to tell a grown person, no, but what about your kids? What about generational wealth? It's too late to teach them that at 60, 70, 75 years old. They're still looking like, well, all that matters is that you don't have to do a GoFundMe for me. I have this little bit of money, that's put away for Gerber insurance or whatever it is, and all of you kids can be buried. It's not about burying your significant other or your children. It is about creating generational wealth. So I want to start to teach our sestras and our young sestras about this, because other people, other cultures, it's just in nature to them.
Correct.
They have estates, Carmen, Alma, Vanessa, Shirley, Miss Jones. Especially me as an attorney, going to law school in my 20s and my 30s, being in those boardrooms where I'm the only Black female. When I talk to those people about their everyday life, they talk about their beach homes and their parents' estate, and I'm just looking at them like, I don't mean to, I don't talk negative about my parents, but what we do is we stay in the same tenement building for 30, 35 years paying rent to someone else. That's someone's family that you're making wealthy. But if you don't understand the concept of money to know the importance of owning, it's kind of hard to teach someone that once they're already a certain age. So we're going to do different, where we're going to teach our young sestras, no. This is how it goes.
Exactly.
All right. Sorry to take over, Carmen.
No, that's super awesome. And listen, I actually went live on my Facebook feed. So I want to let people know, because you might not have been hearing the other part of the conversation, but it will be posted on Sestranow YouTube channel. So you can go back and hear the whole thing. But just today, I had a conversation with a young man, 36 years old, and that is in the middle of making some decisions. And one of the things that he said is that, we're here paying $1,900 a month in rent, And we're
Ooh.
probably gonna go move to someplace that will pay maybe $2,300 a month in rent. And I said to him, you know, I started asking some other questions, and after he answered those questions affirmatively, I said, so you really just want to give someone $55,000 over the next 2 years to pay their mortgage? And they were like, what?
Preach.
I said, that's $55,000 that you're giving to someone else to pay their mortgage.
To get equity.
Right. And I said, you can do that for yourself. Now, don't go and once you realize, oh, wait, I can qualify for a bigger home, because that's what we do. Oh, let me get the bigger home.
No.
Don't do that. Go get the home that you were going to rent and live in there for 2-3 years, and then upgrade and keep that one and make that rental income coming in as well. You know, and it was a big epiphany in speaking with me today. And that's why I do these things that I do. And that's why I'm glad for you giving me this opportunity to be here today to speak. I am so sorry that I gotta run.
All right,
No,
we're
this is
gonna
great.
wrap this up.
Great.
Good.
I'm loving it. So yeah, we got to keep this going. Because
All right,
like
okay.
I said, my home,
Miss
I
Miss
know about
Jones
the
says,
real estate.
sorry, Thelma. Miss Jones says in the comment, it's up to us to break that generational curse
Yeah.
on being educated. So
Yeah.
that being said, we will wrap this up, and I want to ask everyone to join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Join us. We're going to have more exciting workshop Wednesdays where we're going to dig into these subjects so that we can change the story. It's not for our generation, the next generation. So that being said, I want to thank Carmen and all the Sestras for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time on Sestranow's Workshop Wednesdays.
You're absolutely welcome. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Great. Good night.
Great.